You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday to get them back at you.
We're living in a very dangerous time right now, and liberalism has lost their cotton-picking mind.
The Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods.
Nobody ever said anything about resisting Obama. They went at him on legitimate arguments.
I really do believe that much of what you saw coming out of Trump's mouth was a play from Putin's playbook.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Round Table, your all-access pass to exposing fake news, the resistance, and Barack Obama's shadow government undermining American progress. Be a part of the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your all-American hosts, Del Marsh and Phil Stargell.
And good morning. This is the Abolitionist Round Table, and we have a hard-hitting show this morning for you, and we got some information, and we're going to ask you a few questions. Leading off with the idea of asking a few questions. Has anybody ever asked, why is it that there's such this insane hatred for this president? Why hasn't somebody, maybe from the Republican Party, come to the actual defense of at least the principles of what is going on? What I mean by that is we see the very structure of this government being undermined. I'm talking about the Constitution. We got people that are in the depths of the government that are opposing a sitting president and trying to do everything they can to undermine him and take away his authority and ultimately drive this man from office for no other reason than possibly the only reason I can see is the difference in ideology. We're supposed to be a constitutionally limited republic, and the only time I've ever seen the republic try to limit some parts of government, because this government is definitely out of control. We are out of control as a government. Debt up to the debt is higher almost than the actual production of this country, and if you look at the unstructured debt, it's even higher than that, and it's higher than the gross national product of this country. And because what we see is the deficit, which is $20 trillion, roughly, and our gross national product is about $3.5 trillion a year, if I'm not mistaken. And we have debt that we never mention, that is part of the government, that's in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. It's just insane. So yeah, this government is out of control, and anybody that has a plan to bring it back under some type of limits that is called for in the Constitution, then they are soundly opposed. They are actually opposed because, and they've come up with this term, the deep state, and that signifies to me, and that identifies just what the problem is, because you don't know who is actually your enemy. You got people that are in charge of investigations, and the investigations start out one way, and then you look around and it's gone off on another direction, and people are being put in jail for things that I've never seen anybody go to jail for, such as Scooter Libby. But that's in the past, and I believe that that administration didn't do what they needed to do in order to fight this deep state, and actually parts of that government joined in with them, and they have actually opposed especially on the Bush administration has done some opposition to the Trump administration. The people that ran for office, like John McCain, like Mitt Romney, these people are actively opposing much of the agenda of the Trump presidency. So you don't know who's defending this man. And a lot of people will say, well, he deserves it because he's always tweeting things and is out of control with that. So, he deserves what he gets. I don't think, excuse me, I don't think anybody deserves to have somebody use a replica of a severed head to try to identify this president as being something that the people really don't want. And I just want to give you a quick idea of just how much hatred is coming from that particular camp. The lawyer that represented Ms. Griffin tried to make this into a thing of a personal thing between President Trump and Ms. Griffin. And I don't see any outward effort on the part of Donald Trump to do anything to this woman. I mean, but anyway, I just wanted to hear the lawyer that she has represented. Go ahead, Derek.
Ask him, does he have it ready? I just sent it to him a little bit.
Okay.
He got it ready?
Yeah, he's ready.
Okay.
During the campaign, Donald Trump said of a female reporter who had called him out on misogyny, quote, "She had blood coming out of her eyes. She had blood coming out of her wherever." Kathy did not forget that disgusting remark, for which Trump has never apologized. Kathy teamed up recently with a photographer to mock Trump, our mocker-in-chief. What would it look like if his own insults were turned on him? Wearing a pussy bow blouse in a nod to his caught-on-tape bragging about grabbing women's genitals, she held up a Trump mask with fake blood coming out of the eyes and coming out of the wherever in full
Pause there for just a minute, Phil. If this was a rebuttal to what the interview that he had with Megyn Kelly, why didn't she do it at that time?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, now he's deep into his presidency, and now she felt that this is what a lawyer is saying, that this is a rebuttal to that particular incident right there. She was quiet. Matter of fact, I didn't know she even existed at that time because I heard nothing from her when that actual whatever that exchange was that happened. So I think that they're using this is for her cover.
Yeah.
Again, this is she's setting that platform for like you said, she's setting a platform for her now becoming the victim.
Yes, and it's the woman's card. I mean,
the woman's card is coming.
They play the race card. They play
making him out to be a misogyny. Making him out to be anti-feminist. And again, he's put in position, and he's made a lot of women very wealthy.
Yes, he has.
Absolutely very wealthy. Whether or not they were a woman or not, it was based on if they could do the job, and that's what he's always done. Okay.
Now,
if you want to go ahead and
yeah. Good point.
I just didn't want that to slide by. Liberals, they make up, as they go along. She probably had a script. She just decided, I'm going to just make up something as I go along.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, you can go ahead and continue.
Hyperbole with a stern look on her face. As she said in her social media posts accompanying the photo, quote, I captioned this, there was blood coming out of his eyes, blood coming out of his wherever.
Okay, see, now what we have is the, like you said, the setup for the playing the women's card. So, but there's one thing that I have to say I believe, that I don't believe that she put this thing together like they're saying. You see, because if the real reason why they held this press conference is because they probably had a early morning visit from the Secret Service, and now she's trying to play the sympathy card, get the sympathy from people, and bring that sympathy back on her side. I don't think she's going to accomplish that purpose, but I believe that the people that lined up universally, both sides of the aisle, and condemned her for this. Now what she's trying to do is get some sympathy and try to figure out a way to undo some of the damage that she has done to herself personally and maybe legally, who knows. But there's one thing that later on in this press conference, you know, she said some things that to me, I don't even want to play them, but the things that she said about the Trump family and all of that, this stuff is just to further bring about hate toward President Trump and his family, and that's wrong. And she really should have left this on the wayside. This lawyer that brought this whole thing out there and brought this press conference is only doing one thing, trying to further her career, because I truly believe that after this press conference, her career is dead. If it isn't, it should be. So I just want to just go to that, and I'm going to bring some more sound bites, but I got a theory. I just would like to ask some of the questions is, you know, why is every well-known Democrat just almost feverishly bringing out hatred toward this man? I don't understand it, and why people don't see it, and they keep bringing these polls out. Well, he's still got his base, but they're wavering, and this is what you hear. This is all
You know that's fake news.
Yes, it is.
You know it already.
Yes, it
I know.
And but the thing is, they can use the election results to manipulate the news, and that's what they're doing. All of the news says that people are lining up against Trump on health care, on now this leaving the Paris Accords, and what if I don't even believe 90% of the people know what these Paris Accords are about and what the effect that they're going to have, because obviously, if you are going to put a lot of restrictions on one player among all of the world's leading countries, and that's us. We are the only ones that are putting money in.
That's
we are
right.
the only one that are having to make some decisions.
Yeah.
And do you have that, Derek? Do you have the John Kerry?
I didn't send it to him.
You didn't send it to him?
No.
Well, we'll send it to him. But without the John Kerry interview, John Kerry says nobody is under any obligation to do anything but what they agreed to. Well, that's untrue, because all of the other players in the China and India and all of these other countries that are heavy polluters, they have no restrictions. They're allowed to do and
That's
carry
right.
on just
That's
like
right.
they've been.
Absolutely,
We
they
are
have.
the only ones that have some restrictions. And But the thing about it is all of these other countries that over the years have been into these agreements like Kyoto and all of that, we're the only ones that have actually reduced our emissions.
That's right.
And so how in the world can we be expected to continue to take these one-sided agreements and expect this country to thrive? And President Obama was all for this agreement.
Yeah. Matter of fact, he pledged $3 billion.
Yeah. And
to the International Fund.
Yeah. And all of his 2 4-year terms, 8 years of his administration, and this country never had a more than 2% quarter for growth. And that's unacceptable. We can never put our people and keep our people satisfied and employed and growing as a nation if we are only expanding our productivity by 2%.
They don't want us to be productive.
No. That's exactly right.
Not at all. They want us to be dead. They want to slow down production. They want to slow down innovation. They want to slow down progress. Absolutely. But then they want to slow all these things down. But then they want us to make a commitment of $3 billion to this international fund. Phil, this turnaround. You talk about the people that they want to help. They so-called liberals, so-called want to help, are the ones that's not going to be able to pay their gas bill, pay their light bill because of this inflated, this self-inflated tax that they're going to put on these things, and suppress people. And so that's unacceptable. And President Trump see that this is what it's always been. It's the biggest wealth transfer to some of these, some of the undeveloped countries. They won't even let have an air conditioning, won't have lights. And then, like you mentioned, China and India, which represent over 36% of the people population, and are 90% the biggest,
of our competition,
and 90% of our competition, because the jobs they saying that he can't bring back these industrialized jobs. Well, those industrialized jobs, they're still in production, and they're in production in those two countries right there.
Exactly
we can do the same work that those two countries doing in those factories. We can do it cleaner and more efficient.
And we've done it. We've proven that. I want to get to our phones here quick. We're going to go to line 1 with Tony from Taylor. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Reverend Stardrill. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing fine, but I'm not a reverend. But go ahead, Tony.
I was trying to listen in on your conversation. I've been trying to pick up the signal from Ann Arbor, but apparently it ain't coming to my radio. Anyhow, I wanted to call in and say good morning and thank you very much for, first of all, you gave me a ride about a month ago when we demonstrated in front of Cobo Hall there.
Oh, yeah, that was my pleasure, and it was a good ride and a good conversation.
Yes, it was. And in reference to the conversation that you're having there and the topic you're discussing, you cannot believe how former President Obama put this country in such a bad position that we have to adhere to all these stipulations and regulations of the Paris Accord. And China and India and all these other countries, they're given liberties that we the American people, wind up paying for in billions of dollars in grants or whatever, however they handle it. But our tax monies go to support the progress of other countries that defy this Clean Air Accord.
That's
right. Which is a farce to begin with, because I'm listening and I'm hearing the experts saying that in I'm trying to figure out what year they used, 2100.
It's like 100 years off.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's going to, if we adhere to the policies of the Paris
That's
Accord,
right.
how much will it actually change the temperature? Are you kidding me? 0.02% or something like that?
Ridiculous.
Is that just absolutely crazy?
That's right.
Yeah.
It is.
And it'll be trillions of dollars out of the American people's pockets. It's nothing but a wealth transfer. And it's just a precursor to the carbon tax. That's exactly what they want. They want the
That's
carbon
all it
tax.
is.
And,
there you go.
And that would be able to
I've got a much better use for that money.
Yeah, me too.
If everybody hung on to a little bit more of the money they spend in taxes and gave it to the church like they should. What kind of country? How could we change this country? You know, I've always
and the world.
I've always had the adage: empty the prison and fill the churches.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, Tony,
wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, it would. That
would.
is a very good thought for this morning, and I certainly appreciate you taking the time to call us this morning. And please continue to listen.
Sturgill, I tried to call a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to listen into the program so I get an idea what you guys are talking about. And I can't quite get it. It's driving me crazy. I got to move again. I just moved to Taylor. Maybe I ought to move over to Ypsilanti or Ann Arbor or something.
We'd probably be glad to have you, though it is a tough market.
Well, here, let him know that he can. You can, if you can stream. You can go to tune in and put in Wham Talk 1600. You can listen from your iPhone or your smartphone. So
you know, I'm going to give it a try with this cell phone. I don't have a computer because I'm legally blind.
Okay.
And so I can't use a computer, but I'm gonna see if I can get this little phone of mine to tune into WAAM.
All right.
Now, God bless you guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say good morning and thank you again.
You're welcome.
You're more than welcome. And keep listening and keep calling.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
Tony.
Bye now.
All right.
And we're going to go to Scott from Saline.
All right.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you
Good
doing?
morning.
Hey, I wanted to clear up something that you talked about. Actually, a couple of things, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First off, you talked about this Green Climate Fund.
Yes.
And per capita, the nation of Sweden per person is kicking in $60.
Yeah.
We're kicking in $9.41 per person.
Uh-huh.
So we are 2, 4, 6, 8, about 12th down the list per person in what we're kicking into this fund.
Yeah.
And it's and all the money is already, some of it's been spent on irrigation and groundwater systems in northeast India so they have clean water, a hydropower plant in the Solomon Islands so they don't have to use diesel generators, and protection of Ugandan wetlands that farmers use. So it isn't like this money is just disappearing. Secondly, I hear you talk about Kathy Griffin this morning, and it surprises me considering your station has had on Ted Nugent, who told Hillary Clinton to suck his gun, and he was going to blow Barack Obama's head off with it. On stage, you can look it up on YouTube. So when you talk about how offensive she is, when Barack Obama was president, your celebrity, the guy you have on your station, did exactly the same thing and worse. And you asked the question why people don't like Donald Trump, why we don't want to work with him. He is the lowest of low. And you know that, and you guys support him.
Well, that's not
anyway.
true.
And
That's true.
it's
That's your
amazing
opinion.
that.
You're
I'll
stating
finish.
your opinion now.
Hang on, let me
And
finish.
no, don't tell me what to hold on. I'm just saying you're stating your
Let me finish
opinion.
this thought and I'll listen.
Well, he said he didn't say he grabbed anything.
He said they will let you do it because
That's
you're
right.
a
See, you
celebrity.
just tried to manipulate that. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thanks.
Scott.
Scott, thanks a lot. It called back because we got to go to commercial, and then we're going to go down another route, and then I'm going to give you a little alternative to that. Folks, if you'd like to join in the conversation, number 734-822-1600, and we'll be back after these messages.
You're listening to the Abolitionists Round Table with your hosts, Del and Phil. They're exposing the left's underground resistance while leading the charge in the fight for liberty. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I'm Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored. June is National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month. The purpose for this event is to give recognition and encourage life appreciators like you to honor the sacred words in Genesis 1:28, which state, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it." These words apply exclusively to heterosexuals. However, there are legions of deniers who believe God was wrong when he ordained male and female as the exclusive procreation vessels for human life. But despite their denials, the heterosexual procreation process is the only way to replenish humanity. The objective values of National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month are 1. Procreation, 2. Marriage between male and female, 3. Children and family, and 4. Stopping abortions. These objective values are paramount because people who promote acceptance of fake genders have declared war on heterosexuals and our most defenseless and priceless human beings, babies and little children, who are being abused academically, brutalized physically, and viciously misused sexually by deviants whose lifestyles embrace the cultures of death. Many heterosexuals have allowed evildoers and God-haters to intimidate them into submissive silence, afraid to speak up and speak out. However, when a family, a nation, a society, or religious entities fail, refuse, or cannot protect life in and out of the womb, they are doomed. June is an opportune time to rectify these omissions by joining with other life appreciators in activities and information forums and seminars that bring awareness to the urgent need to protect our children, our values, and let the nation know that heterosexuals will no longer hide in shame or be invisible as millions of innocent adults and unprotected children are misled to believe that abnormality is normal. While little boys are emasculated and heterosexual males become victims of societal political correct castration and transformed into mental eunuchs. And little girls' future womanhood is destroyed by female genital mutilations. Life appreciators being fortified by the consecrated, unique blessing God has bestowed upon heterosexuals as providers and protectors of life can stop these atrocities by courageously fighting against that which is wrong and defending that which is right, knowing that it is impossible to be or do wrong when you are right. This June, please join the National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Celebration of Life by supporting procreation, marriage between male and female, children and family, and stopping abortion by obeying the sacred words in Genesis 1:28, because being a part of the solution is right. I am Milt, Logically Speaking Uncensored, saying, think about it, and to God be the glory.
And that, of course, was Milt Harris, and what a commentary.
That's
Thanks
right.
a lot, Milt.
And to God be the glory,
That's
too,
exactly
at that.
right.
Absolutely. But, yeah, so, Phil, go ahead. I know you had a few things on your heart you wanted to
address,
speak
what was his name?
Scott from Saline.
Yeah, from Saline.
And thanks, Scott, for calling.
Yeah, thank you. And
we're not trying to jump on
it gives us a chance to give a little bit of a perspective. I know when things like that are said, it's very easy to take those words out of context. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the context that Ted Nugent said, something about the barrel of the gun. But it is, and we believe strongly in a person's ability and a right to say what he wants, because if you don't say it, you may act it out. And And in this day and age, boy, when you act it out, it can be a devastating thing to a whole family or a whole community, depending on, and we've seen it over and over and over again. It gets out of control. But, excuse me, but the phrase that he is a grabber of women's genitals, that's not something that he actually advocated or anything that he said that he was about doing. He said that once you get to be a celebrity, there you get certain rights or perks or whatever he said. And he said they will allow you, they will let you do different things. And among them was they let you grab them by the crotch. And then he used the word, I won't use it. But those things are done. He recognized it, and he never said one time that those were things that he personally done. He said that they will allow you to do these things. Now, and I didn't hear him advocating for it. Only thing he was doing was observing. And this is what people like Dell and I do if we are honest with everything. We observe and we make comment on the things that we observe. Mm-hmm. I observed the fact that there's a double standard as to what Trump said and actually what Trump has lived his life. His children are, to me, the reason that I voted for Donald Trump, because the example that he raised with those kids have never been in any scandals, and he put out the message that you don't drink, you don't use drugs, and you'll be fine with me. And I've seen him put that out many, many times, and for that particular incident, I think people were trying to use that to call him a hypocrite, to say that he advocates not drinking, not using drugs, and leading a fairly decent life with a wife and children, and go home to them every night. And if there's a problem within that marriage, you go through the procedures, legal procedures, get out of that, and get into a marriage where you're happy. Those are the way he has carried his life in public, and one of the reasons I said that I was able to pull the trigger on the voting box for Donald Trump. Now, there are many things that people can say that Donald Trump they may not agree with him on. There are things that I don't agree with him on. Many among them is his deals with Saudi Arabia. I think he needs to tighten that up. I think he needs to apply the same standard in trade as he does in agreements with them. If they want something from us, they're going to have to give something to us. And that's what he has said that he would like to have in his negotiations on trade, on economy, on economic stuff. Those are the principles. So I apply them to defense, and when it comes to Saudi Arabia, because they're bringing in things into this country, sending things into this country where they do not allow those same things to be done with them. And they are having refugees come here, and they haven't taken any of them themselves. They got plenty of room. They've got plenty of facilities. They need to make use of them instead of sending them over here and paying for mosques to be done to spread the ideology that comes out of Al-Qaeda and the Wahhabi nation and all of that. That's what they're sending here. And so, yeah, I don't believe everything Donald Trump does is good, but I do believe that when it comes to making a decision on something that somebody set up a trick to and held it for 20 years to see which way he would ultimately go out, I'm suspicious of that right off the bat. And like I said, I believe that the whole reason why the feminists had such a reaction to that particular statement was because he identified a part of female behavior that needed to be addressed, but everybody, because of political correctness, are afraid to address it. But there are some very bad behaviors that are put up by some of our feminist friends, and then they turn around and say, well, I have a right to do that because, of free speech. Well, free speech goes both ways, and like I said, I don't advocate denying anybody free speech. Only thing I advocate is that if you're going to use free speech, be ready to accept the consequences of what you say.
And that's true. And Ted Nugent, whatever he say, he'll stand by it and back it up. He won't turn around and try to make himself out to be some kind of victim. She said what she said. She apologized, but then she want to turn around and she want to make herself a victim. She want to blame, the White House for some kind of backlash that's coming to her personally. There's no backlash from the White House. People said some horrible things and did some horrible things, and not to the level that she did about President Obama. The clown wore a mask. He got fired. I mean, he was ridiculed. I mean, the whole United States almost erupted. Again, liberals. Liberals don't have it. There's no hypocrisy with liberals. There's no double standard with liberals because they have nothing that they really stand for. They don't stand for nothing. They don't stand for righteousness. They don't stand for valor. They don't stand for integrity or anything like that, or real grace, anything like that. They make up their own rules as they go along. They have a different rule for themselves, and then they turn around and tell you, they like we've been talking about for years, they create the rules of engagement. You play by the rules. Yeah. They make up their own rules.
They play with the rules.
So, all we doing is commenting on it. We thought it was despicable. I thought it was despicable. No, I'm not trying to take away her free speech, but then I'm just saying on the flip side, if somebody did something to that level to the America's First Community Organizer, and again, I know people get upset when I say that, but when he became president, he put that on the White House as his previous occupation. Could not believe it. Yes, community organizer. He was proud of that right there. Absolutely was proud of that.
And he has praised organizations like Black Lives Matter and all that, saying that they were almost as good a community organizer as he was. Yeah. And so, that's an honorable thing. To me, it's community organizer is a community agitator.
That's right.
And they're proud of that terminology too.
And so all this that we see that's going on is the underground swelling of community activism against our own nation. Again, whether like or dislike President Trump, people stood with President Trump, not necessarily because he was of somebody that was so highly noble, is because of all the filth that we had for the last 8 years. And all Americans want to do is they want to just push back. Yeah. This hatred of just America, this hatred of a certain sector in our one of the things she pointed out is the white male. She the hatred of the white male, the hatred of heterosexuals, period. Yeah. And so just this underlying attack on everything that is normal to flip this country upside down. That's what's going on. And that's why people, they elected somebody, whether you like or dislike him, they elected somebody that's hard-nosed and that's an alpha male. Right. And to push back on some of this stuff.
It's the duty, and that's all it is. They try to make it out like just because Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Mm-hmm. They are taking advantage of that fact because they're using that to skew polls. And regardless of what,
even though she only campaigned 2 days a week.
Yeah, and even though
and was at home studying her notes that CNN gave her.
Yeah.
For whenever she had the debates. Again, you see how she had all this advantage. Yeah. And she still had the money advantage. She had all the propaganda, news media. Folks, a matter of fact, I just want to say, just on a sideline, if we don't see now that there is no real source of information now in these news outlets, it's 24/7 undermining of and manipulating the mind of of the American people. And the reason I say that because my young 8-year-old said something to me, and I'm thinking, where did you get this from? The propaganda that's seen every day on television. It's manipulating young people. It's manipulating the whole country.
Well,
turning the whole country against ourselves. It's not turning them against the president.
Right.
It's turning the whole country against itself. The hatred of itself.
And they try to turn it around and say that it's his fault because he sends tweets and stuff like that. And this has been something that he's done. I don't care one way or another whether he does it, but what I only recommendation that I would give him, and you can take that for what it's worth, but is that he have somebody to help explain or before these things go out, make sure that they are thought out and you are planning for the reaction that comes up.
So when he tweet, it should go. It automatically should be directed to his communication department. Whatever his thoughts are, it can be explained a little bit better than whatever his reation is. His normal reaction. Yeah. So absolutely, I agree.
I want to
go ahead.
Quickly go to. Gary.
Okay.
Gary from Hazel Park.
Yeah. Good morning, Gary.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Now, I'd like to address the Paris Accord. Pulling out of that accord was one of the greatest things that this president's done so far. Because we all know that Imam Obama, when he came into the White House, he had a plan. His plan was to suck the financial, the spiritual, the ethical life out of this country as fast as he could and replace it with a flood of foreigners from all over the world to reduce us to a third world country. And everything that Trump does to undo anything Obama does is a glorious and beautiful thing. And anybody who argues with me is wrong, because our country was set on a path of destruction by Obama and by the Democrats in general. And even the Republicans are involved. You guys know this, of course. McCain and stuff.
So what do you think the purpose of this is? To bring us to our knees as an economic power, and also as a moral model for the world. In that we promote liberty amongst all overall in this country. And why would that be a goal to eliminate those kind of ideals?
I think it's guilt. I think it's global guilt. I think the globe feels guilty about being a bunch of despots who subjugate their people, and they look at us and see the shining light on the hill and say it can be done. But if they destroy the shining light, that means they can justify their disgusting behavior and drag us down into their swamp.
I mean, twice in history, in 100 years, we have saved the world. In the First and Second World Wars and in numerous other wars. Even though we weren't successful in those wars, but they did bring about change and bring about prosperity for a number of groups around the world.
There's no question about that. The United States of America has done more for the world in general than any other country in history. Maybe perhaps you can go way back 2,000 years to Egypt and stuff like that, but that's obsolete these days.
And and the thing about it is, I have a theory on it. The world is progressing to the point where, everybody is recognizing the fact that there's going to be a need for lots of money to appease people as robots and autonomous things are able to eliminate jobs. There's going to be a lot of people that don't have an occupation, and I believe that this dastardly idea of a carbon tax is the way to finance it, because there is on the horizon unlimited energy and unlimited power to do whatever it is that we want to do. They will be able to deal with global warming if that is a case, because if you have unlimited power and energy, then there is no problem that you can't solve that has to do with an excess or an absence of energy if you have unlimited power, and that is on the horizon.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. Up until the steam engine, most all energy was provided by manpower.
Yes.
There was a hydroelectric, windmills, or not windmills, I'm sorry, water mills, I guess they call them.
Yeah.
And windmills to some degree.
Yeah.
And horses, of course.
Yes.
But manpower was the primary power on the earth for 10,000 years until the steam engine. So that was only like 130 years ago.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've progressed greatly in a minute time of 100 years, over the thousands of years. So our own technology could lead to our own physical demise, because we no longer have to work, so our bodies are going to subjugate.
If not physical demise, at least, enslavement. We will be enslaved, not to, a master, but to government, and government largest.
You're already there. Look at the colleges. And look at the kids on the iPhones.
Yeah.
They're enslaved to their iPhones like nobody's business.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. To their even endangerment. They're walking around. They don't even know where they are.
And it's terrible, too. I mean, this thing got to, oh, my goodness. It's hard. I mean, I got a young kid that worked with me. I mean, all the time, just that phone in front of his face.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all the time. It's just, I told him, put that thing down. I have to tell him to put it down. Yeah.
Well, rejoice. Rejoice. As long as Trump is in office, we have a fighting chance.
Yes, and that means that we have got to get out there and do some protection, some help, some assistance.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks a lot for your call. We need to get out there and show that he has support, because the media has taken on the job of removing this man from office, and that's all that they are after. And there is by the way, I wanted to mention that there is a very, very, very good article on the Willow Run.
Up. You only got maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, on the Willow Run website. And I got an email, and I read a long article by a lady, and I'm trying to bring it up here. But if you get a chance, get on the Willow Run Tea Party and read that article by, it's from Dennis Moore, and of course, and her name is Lisa Frank. Read that article, folks. It is a very, very good article, very well written, and very informative. And folks, we will see you next week, and we'll have another hard-hitting show. And we will, Dale, you got...
I was going to say, God bless America, and let us also bless God.
The Abolitionist Round Table invites the Wham Talk 1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil Delanjanis at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.